First tonight on our news, live at 7, a father of 3 found dead on Infant View Road this morning after gunshots were heard in the area. Tonight, the victim's mother is speaking out. Plus, a family friend is arrested after a 3-month-old baby girl dies in his care. What investigators are saying about it.
Coming up tonight, Lincoln Bain and a group of supporters holding a protest outside the office of the Prime Minister looking to address the immigration issue. The group bringing a list of 10 recommendations to the office of the Prime Minister. Our News was here, and we'll have all the details for you in tonight's newscast.
And then in our news at 7:30, one man appears in court in relation to that rape and home invasion on Marshall Road last week. Our News live at 7 starts now. Welcome to our News live at 7. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Kendino Knowles. Arguments over citizenship issues heard in the Supreme Court today. In question is whether the Constitution should confer citizenship at birth to the child of an unmarried foreign woman and a Bahamian man. This as protesters taking the issue of immigration to the office of the Prime Minister. We are following both stories tonight. But before we get to that, a 7th murder for the year recorded this morning after a man in his early 20s was found dead on Infant View Road in Gibbs Lane. Investigators telling us the incident happened shortly after 7 when shot spotter technology alerted police to gunshots discharged in the area. Press Liaison Officer Chief Superintendent Chrislyn Skipping says the man was driving a silver Nissan Note when he was cut off by another vehicle and the culprits fired gunshots, killing him on the scene. The victim, Dominique Berry, is a construction worker. The mother of the victim, Marguerite Burrows, describing the type of person he was.
In his younger days, in all honesty, he had a past. But for many years, he's reformed, he's refined to be an excellent father. Excellent father. I am astonished to see how good he is to his children. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I just rode with him yesterday and he took me to the, dropped me the way, picked me up, took me to the store. I just saw a different person yesterday.
All right, Natalia Hall was on the scene this morning where she spoke with the victim's mother, who you heard from there. She's got more on that coming up in our news at 7:30. Meanwhile, a 29-year-old man is in police custody tonight after he was arrested in connection with the death of a baby girl just after 11 a.m. on Monday. Press Liaison Officer Chief Superintendent Chrislyn Skipping says the child was in the care of the man who is said to be a family friend when the incident reportedly happened.
The 3-month-old baby was in the custody of a family friend while the mother was at work. It is reported that the family friend believed the child was asleep and shortly thereafter realized the child was unresponsive. The child was taken to hospital via private vehicle where medical assistance was rendered. However, it was confirmed that there was no signs of life.
All right, our Sasha Lightborn has a full story. It's coming up in our news at 7:30. Well, an expectant mother is behind bars awaiting sentencing for physically abusing her 4-year-old daughter before she was murdered. Estonia Walker, the mother of Deonia Bella Walker, pleaded guilty on Monday to charges of child cruelty and exposing a child to grievous harm. Prosecutors say Walker and her live-in boyfriend, Darion Smith, physically abused the toddler before she died on November 5th, 2021. Bella was left in Smith's care while her mother was at work when she died. Smith pleaded guilty to her murder and was sentenced to 25 years in prison on Monday as part of a plea deal. Walker pleaded guilty without knowing what sentence the court will impose. Public Defender Dorsey McPhee has requested a probation report to assist Justice Renee McKay in deciding a sentence. McPhee and the prosecutor, Cassie Bethel, will make sentencing submissions on March 1st. According to McPhee, Walker is due to give birth the same month. And now to this, the country's highest court hearing arguments today on citizenship issues. The question, whether the Constitution confers citizenship at birth on a person born in the Bahamas who is the child of an unmarried foreign woman and a Bahamian man. In May 2020, current Chief Justice Sir Ian Winder ruled that children born out of wedlock to Bahamian men and foreign women are entitled to citizenship from birth. Winder departed from an earlier ruling by former Chief Justice Sir Burton Hall, which said that children born out of wedlock could only inherit citizenship through their Bahamian mothers. Winder's ruling came after 2 Bahamian men with children born to Haitian and Jamaican women challenged the interpretation of the Constitution after their children were denied Bahamian passports. The Attorney General appealed the ruling in the public's interest. However, in 2021, the Court of Appeal, by a majority of 3-2, upheld Winder's decision. We are following this case and we'll have more as arguments are expected to continue. We've got a whole lot more to get to tonight, but for now, it's time for your first look at temperatures. Meteorologist Greg Thompson is in the Weather Center. Greg, I see things are warming up again. I saw 83 on the thermostat this morning, so I figure...
You better recheck that.
One could hope.
Yeah, we started off with some really cool temperatures this morning. We had low 50s. Grand Bahama probably seeing the upper 40s, too near the 50-degree mark. But temperatures managed to get up into the 70s. Not quite the 80-degree mark, but we will continue to slowly warm up as the week goes on.
One could hope.
Yeah. All right. Right now, though, outside our studios, we are cooling off 70 degrees under mostly clear skies. Your winds are out of the southeast at 7 miles per hour, and your feels-like temperature a very comfortable 68. And we will continue to watch those temperatures fall off as the evening goes on. Current temperatures around the islands right now at 68 in Freeport, 69 in Marsh Harbor, Abaco. We pick up 71 in Alistown, Bimini, Great Harbor Key, 69, 70 in Nicholstown and in Governor's Harbor. Into the central Bahamas, 72 in Kemps Bay as well as in Arthurstown, Cat Island. Coburn Town, San Salvador, 71, 75 in Georgetown and in Deadman's Key. And into the southeast Bahamas, temperatures near the mid-70s there as well. 76 in Duncantown, Ragged Island, 74 in Colonel Hill, Crooked Island, 75 in Delectable Bay. And in Abrahams Bay, Matthewtown, Inagua, 76, and our very good neighbors to the southeast, Turks and Caicos Islands, round out our temperature profile at 73. Satellite view, well, this is a scorched record. Nothing happening out there. High pressure remains in charge. We had some very lovely blue skies today. Temperatures once again managed to get into the 70s. We will continue to see those temperatures rise as the winds, well, the high itself that is across us will slide out further towards the east. That will turn our winds more east to southeast over the next couple of days. So we will see those temperatures climb near the 80-degree mark. But quiet weather expected. We do expect a front to get in here sometime by Thursday, Friday, but that front will scrape the northern Bahamas and just pull out high pressure builds back in for the weekend. That's your first look at weather. Stick with us. A look at your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on our news, we'll tell you why a group of protesters blocked the entrance to the office of the Prime Minister this morning. This as the highest number of migrants were repatriated from the Bahamas last year in recorded history. And later, BAIC planting new seeds with the signing of a new industrial agreement. Will it be fruitful? The story on the other side of this break. A peaceful protest intensifying outside the office of the Prime Minister today as the group tried to deliver a letter to the office of the Prime Minister. Berthany McDermott tells us that in the letter are recommendations to help deal with illegal migration.
The group of protesters giving the government a 14-day deadline to get moving on immigration issues. Coalition of Independence leader Lincoln Bain.
We are going to apply from now to the Cabinet Office to occupy Parliament Square. I'm calling on you to come out and be ready to refuse to go home.
For decades, the Bahamas has wrestled with illegal migrants from Haiti. That situation intensified in recent years as the country faces economic challenges. But Bain making it clear they're not against Haitians.
We love all of our neighbors, and at some point in all of our lives, we have been good to the Haitian people. We have allowed them to use our schools, our hospitals. We have taken good care of them. We've given them jobs. We've employed them. We've let them do our yards.
The group gathering outside the office of the Prime Minister in a peaceful protest that eventually blocked OPM's main entrance. The COI leader believes it's time to get a firm grasp on the issue. To do that, the group brought with them proposed amendments to the country's immigration laws and 10 recommendations on how to address the issue.
Appeal to the courts to have all new structures built in shanty towns demolished. Amen. Number 2. Set up a naval blockade at our southern marina border. Number 3, immediately suspend the issuance of visas and work permits to Haitian nationals.
Now, after he addressed the media and his supporters, Bain attempted to take that letter into the office of the Prime Minister, but he was unsuccessful.
That the office of the Prime Minister is not willing to receive any letter about immigration. Did the office of the Prime Minister instruct you to not let me in to deliver this letter?
Yes. Yes or no? Answer the question.
That response not sitting well with Bahamians gathered. After multiple attempts, in the end, an officer took the letter to the office of the Prime Minister. Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
And 68 foreign nationals have been convicted on immigration charges in the magistrates' court. On Friday, January 13th, the group stood before Magistrate Samuel McKinney and Chief Magistrate Joyanne Ferguson Pratt. 51 Cuban nationals were charged before the court with illegal landing subsequent to their January 8th apprehension off Anguilla Key by Defense Force officers. All pleaded guilty and fined $300. If they do not pay the fine, they will serve 1 month at the Department of Corrections. Meanwhile, 7 Jamaican and 6 Haitian nationals, along with 1 New Zealander, pleaded guilty to the charge of overstaying before Chief Magistrate Joyanne Ferguson Pratt. Their fines range from $300 to $2,500 or 6 weeks to 3 months at the Department of Corrections. Now, once the fines are paid and sentences are complete, the migrants were ordered to be turned over to the Department of Immigration for deportation. And almost 5,000 migrants were repatriated last year. It's a number the immigration minister is saying it's the highest on record. Marlena Leonard reports.
Last year, the government repatriated a total of 4,748 persons from the Bahamas, which was the largest number ever. And of that number, 3,349 persons were repatriated to Haiti, and 1,001 persons were repatriated to Cuba.
The immigration minister says while the majority of repatriations were to Haiti and Cuba, repatriations went as far as the Middle East.
We would have repatriated persons to as far as Afghanistan, to Egypt, Ecuador, Guyana, Jamaica, Mexico, Nicaragua, Pakistan, Romania, South Africa, Trinidad, Uganda, Turkey, Venezuela.
Bell has had 2 meetings in the past week with the Director of Immigration. When he was asked if he would consider the Bahamas to be in the middle of an immigration crisis,
the focus, in my view, ought to be and must remain what it is that we are doing about it. That is the focus, and that is where we intend to keep that focus. And again, I'm indicating to you and the Bahamian people that, first of all, the major islands of concentration, and as we'd appreciate, are the Eleuthera. We see issues in Harbour Island. We know that Abaco is another major concern. And so, therefore, we are focusing on those islands.
And the minister suggests anyone who claims they can't see the work and results of the Department of Immigration might be looking in the wrong direction.
Every week, we have had repatriation exercises both to Haiti and to Cuba, and to a lesser extent those individuals from Jamaica and other Caribbean countries. So there is continuous action, and as a matter of fact, up to this week, as a matter of fact, you'd have seen joint operations by the police, defense, and immigration in the southwestern areas of New Providence.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Marlena Leonard.
Police arresting a 36-year-old and 27-year-old man in connection with 2.5 pounds of marijuana that was illegally brought into the country just after 1 p.m. yesterday. Officers from the Fox Hill Division say they were conducting surveillance on a business and arrested the men while they attempted to collect the shipped package. The suspected marijuana has an estimated street value of $2,500. Investigations continue. And motorists heading west on Shirley Street are advised to proceed with caution over the next few days as 2 spotlights at 2 major intersections are down for repairs. The lights at Shirley and Frederick and Shirley and Market Streets are now down to replace them with newer models. Crews are working mainly at night to repair and replace those traffic light systems. The Ministry of Works estimating about another 3 days to install. The new system is designed to detect traffic flows and makes automatic adjustments and ease congestion at peak hours. But in the meantime, if you must travel along that road, approach with caution and use the rules of a 4-way stop. And officials are calling it a red-letter day for staff at Bahamas Agricultural Industrial Corporation as they signed an industrial agreement today with the Bahamas General Workers Union. The agreement, which backdates 5 years, will expire in June. However, BAIC Executive Chairman Leroy Major says a new agreement will be completed in short order. BAIC labor consultant Leslie Dean Sr. explains some of the benefits in the agreement.
We provided opportunities for employees to receive two break periods, two 15-minute break periods during the day, and that is for coffee break. That was not available before. We extended for sick leave. We amended the leave period for compassionate leaves.
Dean says other benefits like paternity leave are also part of the arrangement.
But also under the same conditions, once every 3 years, as that in the female. We also regularized the casual leave for persons, depending on the salary scale categorization where they fall into. We also looked at
When our news comes back from the break, we turn our spotlight to stories making headlines across the world as Usain Bolt fans show their support after he becomes a victim of alleged fraud. Plus, we look back on the mysterious circumstances surrounding the Andros airplane crash that killed 6 in 2018. And how much has changed since the infamous 2006 prison break? The details when Our News returns. This is Our News. Welcome back. We turn our attention now to stories making headlines across the world. The White House says it is withholding information about the discovery of classified documents and official records found at President Joe Biden's home and former office to protect the Justice Department's investigation. Spokesperson for the White House counsel's office, Ian Sams, says the White House was releasing information it deemed appropriate, mindful of the risk in sharing information that's not complete. The discovery of the documents in Biden's possession complicates a federal probe into former President Donald Trump, who the Justice Department says took hundreds of records marked classified with him upon leaving the White House in early 2021. Scotland's leader, First Minister Nicola Sturgeon, says she will take the British government to court over its decision to block a Scottish law that makes it easier for people to change their gender on official documents. Sturgeon insisting the Conservative UK government was making a profound mistake by vetoing the gender recognition reform bill passed by the Scottish Parliament last month. Hailed as a landmark by transgender rights activists, the bill would, among other things, allow people aged 16 or older to change the gender designation on their identity documents by self-declaration, removing the need for a medical diagnosis of gender dysphoria.
In my view, there are no grounds to challenge this legislation. It is within the competence of the Scottish Parliament. It doesn't affect the operation of the Equality Act, and it was passed by an overwhelming majority of the Scottish Parliament after very lengthy and very intense scrutiny by MSPs of all parties represented in the Parliament. So if there is a decision to challenge, then in my view it will be quite simply a political decision.
Antonio Panzeri, the alleged leader of a criminal network involved in a European Union corruption scandal, has agreed to reveal which countries were involved and how it operated. Prosecutors say he agreed the plea deal under an informant law used only once before in Belgium. A former member of the European Parliament is one of 4 suspects being held in Belgium after police seized around 1.5 million euros in cash during a series of raids. They are suspected of accepting bribes from Qatar and Morocco in return for influencing the parliament in Brussels. Both countries have strongly denied involvement. Nigerian authorities say gunmen burned a Catholic priest to death and shot and injured his colleague, identified as Father Collins, at a house in northwest Nigeria on Sunday. The latest violence raising concerns about security ahead of an election next month, as kidnappings for ransom and killings by armed gangs in the north have led to fears that polls may not be held in some areas. The motive for the latest attack was not immediately clear, but gunmen have previously targeted priests in the largely Muslim north. The Office of Brazil's Prosecutor General has presented its first charges against some of the thousands of people who authorities say stormed government buildings in an effort to overturn former President Jair Bolsonaro's loss in the October election. The prosecutors in the recently formed group to combat anti-democratic acts also have requested that the 39 defendants who ransacked Congress be imprisoned as a preventative measure and that 7.7 million of their assets be frozen to help cover damages. And Usain Bolt continues to trend on social media, gaining the support of his fans and followers after it emerged that he was reportedly the victim of a possible fraud racket at a local investment company in Jamaica. The 8-time Olympic gold medalist is among individuals who lost millions to a reported fraud at Stocks and Securities Limited. The company has since been placed under enhanced oversight, while the Financial Services Commission says it is conducting an inquiry. While not directly referencing anything to do with the incident, Bolt took to Twitter and Instagram and posted a snippet of his song Cryptic World. The lyrics: "In a world of lies, where is the truth? The history, evil, what is the root? Money." Still to come in our news, today in history, find out interesting facts about the day that was January 17th and the birthday of one of our Olympic gold medalists. Plus, Greg is back with your extended weather forecast. And then in our news at 7:30, trouble brewing at the airport after some air traffic controllers are a no-show. The details when our news continues. Welcome back to our news. It's time now to turn our spotlight on events that shaped the day that was January 17th. Take a look. On this day in Bahamian history, in 1883, singer, songwriter, musician, and businessman Charles Leonard Lofthouse was born in Nassau. Known as one of the pioneers of Gumbe music, he wrote songs including Bahama Mama, Mama Don't Want No Peas or Rice, Moonlight Nights in Nassau, and Gumbe Drum. These newspaper excerpts tell of his success. One article reads, "Now it's the Gumbe, and it may be goodbye rumba. Hello Gumbe, blame the tourists." He and his brother co-founded the Lofthouse Agency and Record Company. Then in 1976, Olympic gold medalist Tonique Williams-Darling was born in Nassau. The retired multi-medal winning track athlete specialized in the 400 meters. The best years of her sprinting career spanned the 2004 and 2005 seasons. In July 2004, the IAAF Diamond League in Rome, she broke Mexican Ana Guevara's 400-meter win streak in a time of 49.78 seconds. A month later, at the 2004 Summer Olympic Games in Athens, she won the 400 meters in a time of 49.41 seconds. For her gold medal accomplishments, the street, formerly known as Harold Road, was renamed Tonique Williams-Darling Highway in her honor. Then in 2018, tragedy struck the Andros community when an Aztec Piper aircraft carrying 6 people crashed shortly after takeoff from the San Andros airport. Among the victims, 49-year-old mother of 2 Margaret Adderley, Desiree Russell, and her young daughter Destiny Wilson, local store owner Carter Campbell, Valentino Knowles, and Captain Darren Clark. 2 days later, officials announced they had ended their search and rescue for those on board. An investigation by the Air Accident Investigation Department concluded that pilot error was the cause of the crash. Then Member of Parliament for North Andros and Berry Islands, Carlton Bowleg, overwhelmed with grief.
It's sad. It's a sad day for the whole constituency. You have an island that is very large, maybe the largest island in this country, but it's very close-knitted. And anytime you have a tragedy, when it hits one family, it hits everyone. And right now I can tell you, everyone is distraught on that island.
All right, and last September, 30-year-old Winston Walker, who was on remand at the Department of Corrections on charges of attempted murder, armed robbery, and attempted armed robbery, managed to breach security and escape from the facility. He was captured shortly after, but his wasn't the first attempt. 16 years before was an attempt by 4 prisoners. Here's a recap of the infamous prison break of 2006. On January 17, 2006, 4 prisoners attempted to break out of what was then Her Majesty's prison. The ordeal began around 4 a.m. on the day when they overpowered a guard trying to escape, stabbing him to death. But they didn't get too far in the compound before prison guards responded. A prisoner was shot and killed by guards. 2 other accomplices were shot and injured, but a 4th prisoner managed to escape. An immediate search began as word spread about the prison break as reporters began arriving at the prison by 5 a.m. By 6:25, a hearse arrived to collect the body. Shortly before 7, family members of the deceased arrived at the prison. Tensions mounted on the outside, and by 7:50, then Minister of National Security Cynthia Pratt and then Foreign Affairs Minister Fred Mitchell arrived at 8:35. Then Attorney General Alfred Sears followed. At 8:50, the scene at the gate exploded as the hearse attempts to leave under police guard only to be stopped by irate family members of the slain officer. At 9:40, the 2 prisoners who were shot and injured were brought back under heavy police guard. The prison was now on lockdown. At a press conference immediately after, then Prison Superintendent Ellison Ramming gave the first official details of the uprising, identifying the victim as 13-year prison guard Corporal Dion Bowles. 2 other officers were injured in the incident as well. Prisoner Neil Brown, who was shot and killed, was serving a sentence for the murder of Archdeacon William Thompson. Also on the injured list, prisoner Barry Pacoy, who escaped from prison the year before and was recaptured days later. His accomplice, Forrester Bowe, was reportedly shot once in the knee. An intense search got underway for fugitive Corey Hepburn. Hepburn was later captured, and he, Brown, and Bowe would be put on trial for the murder of Bowles. On October 10, 2014, authorities at Her Majesty's prison announced that Forrester Bowe was found dead in his cell. 3 years later, on July 14, 2017, Hepburn was acquitted of the murder of Corporal Bowles, but found guilty of escaping from prison. McCoy entered a plea deal before the trial. All right, to watch that again and for all of today's top stories, you can visit ournews.bs. That's going to do it for us in News at 7. Joining us now is Italia Hall with the latest headlines. Italia, I saw that you were on the murder scene today, and to see that mother talking about her son.
Very
It's an all too familiar scene.
Right, very unfortunate incident. You know, the mother called for this crime to stop across the country. Absolutely. As we're already up to 7 for the year in terms of murders. And
yeah. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what else you have to say in your report. Yeah.
Thanks, Ken. While we are still following that murder on Infant View Road, we'll hear from the victim's mother as well as details from inside the courtroom as a man is arraigned for a recent home invasion.
A mother left heartbroken. New tonight on Our News Live at 7:30. The mother of a man killed on Infant View Road this morning says her son had a past, but he was doing well. Plus, a 29-year-old man arrested in connection with the death of a 3-month-old baby girl. Police have the latest on the investigation. Plus, some air traffic controllers take the day off in a sit-out that impacts operations at the Lynden Pinland International Airport. The aviation director gives his take, and later, helping struggling students get back on track with the launch of a learning loss program. Our News Live at 7:30 starts in a moment.
Welcome to Our News, and thank you for joining us. I'm Natalia Hall. An early morning shooting leaving a man in his early 30s dead in the Chippenham community. The news sending shock waves throughout the area as family members and residents learned about the tragic incident. I spoke with the mother of the victim, who says violence must come to an end.
It's shocking. It's a sad thing to happen to any other family.
That's the mother of 33-year-old Dominique Berry, Marguerite Burrows. Berry was gunned down in an early morning shooting on Infant View Road and Gibbs Lane. According to reports, shortly after 7 a.m., police were notified via shot spotter technology that gunshots were discharged in the area. Police say while Berry was driving a silver Nissan Note, he was cut off by another vehicle and the culprits opened fire, killing him on the scene. The family members in shock as they found out that their loved one was brutally murdered. His mother says he was a construction worker and described the type of son he was.
In his younger days, in all honesty, he had a past. But for many years, he's reformed, he's refined to be an excellent father. Excellent father. I am astonished to see how good he is to his children. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I just rode with him yesterday and he took me to dropped me away, picked me up, took me to the store.
The mother confirming that Berry is the father of 3.
He is matured, and to be a father, he goes to work. As a matter of fact, this is his thoroughfare to go to work every morning, and he was on his way to work.
Press liaison officer Chief Superintendent Christine Skippings confirming that the victim did not have any recent interaction with police and was not being electronically monitored. She's asking the public for any information to help solve this case and had this appeal for family members.
If you fail to provide us with the information needed to remove these weapons from the streets, I can assure you that these weapons will be used on your own family members.
Now we are only 17 days into the year, and this is the country's 7th murder.
And I can assure you that within a relatively short period of time, we are going to get the perpetrators. So you commit the crime, rest assured, we're going to get you.
Now turning to crime on the island of Abaco. Police on that island are searching for a lone gunman who they say shot and killed a 28-year-old man Monday evening. Press liaison officer Chief Superintendent Christine Skipping says the victim had recently pulled up at his home in Bahamas Coral when he was approached by a lone gunman who shot him multiple times.
The suspect or the suspects left the area in a dark-colored Japanese vehicle. So anyone who may have been in that area around 6:30 p.m. on Monday, the 16th of January, we are asking you to speak with our police officers on the island of Abaco so that we can bring this matter to a closure.
Skippings also addressed concerns that homicides are happening far too often.
We see it merely because persons are unable to resolve their conflicts. They get angry and they feel that the only way to send a message is to actually pick up a gun and harm someone or even kill someone. Again, I want to plead to parents, guardians, it starts at home. We have to teach our children that conflicts are inevitable, conflicts would occur. But we have to show them that there are different ways to resolve the conflict.
While a man is in custody following the death of an infant yesterday, this comes on the heels of a 25-year prison sentence being handed down in the baby Bella case. Our Sasha Lightborn has the details.
Police arrested a 29-year-old man on Monday following the death of a baby girl that occurred just after 11 a.m. Press liaison officer Chief Superintendent Christine Skippings says the child was in the care of the suspect, who was a family friend, when the incident occurred.
The 3-month-old baby was in the custody of a family friend while the mother was at work. It is reported that the family friend believed the child was asleep and shortly thereafter realized the child was unresponsive. The child was taken to hospital via private vehicle where medical assistance was rendered. However, it was confirmed that there was no signs of life.
Chief Superintendent Skippings also spoke to the injuries on the baby girl.
The child was also observed with injuries to the face. As a result, the 29-year-old family friend was taken into custody and is assisting police with the investigations.
She gave this advice for those leaving their children in the care of others.
You have to ensure that the person is responsible, notwithstanding that accidents can happen. But if you have young children in your care and your custody, you need to be checking them on a consistent basis. But if you notice that the child is not feeling well, you want to try and take that child to the doctor immediately. Don't try that homemade bush medicine that we as Bahamians like to try. Let's take them to the doctor.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Sasha Lightbourne.
Police have charged a 26-year-old man who they say took part in a gang rape during a home invasion and armed robbery. Dennis Ingram appeared before Magistrate Samuel McKinney facing charges of abetment to rape, armed robbery, and burglary. According to police, 3 masked gunmen broke into a home on Marshall Road around 5 a.m. on January 8th. The intruders tied up a 59-year-old man and his 33-year-old wife and raped her. They also robbed her husband of $3, his wedding band worth $2,500, and a $250 cell phone. The men also robbed the wife of a Movado watch valued at $600, a pair of sunglasses worth $15, and a Kindle tablet valued at $150. Now, Ingram did not have to enter pleas to the charges. He was denied bail and returns to court in March to receive voluntary bill of indictment papers. Well, a beautiful, clear evening in the capital tonight. Meteorologist Greg Thompson joins us live from the Weather Center with our current conditions. Good evening, Greg.
Yeah, hi, Talia. You complaining about the cold?
Yeah, the cold is still here, Greg. I thought you said it was going to warm up a bit, but so far, no luck.
Yeah, daytime temperatures have warmed up, and of course, the nighttime temperatures with the lack of clouds and the light winds, yeah, they're going to fall off into the 50s. So one more night maybe or 2 of some 50s, and then we start to warm back up to near normals.
Right.
So just wait for it. 69 degrees outside the studios right now under mostly clear skies. Your winds out of the southeast at 7 miles per hour, and your feels like temperature comfortable 68 degrees. Satellite view, it's quiet across area. Ridge of high pressure is in charge. That ridge is now centered just east of the island, so our winds are now turning more towards the east to southeast. We should see a warming pattern over the next couple of days as that high continues to slide out towards the east and bring more warm tropical air mass across us. So, Italia, you could see some more warmer temperatures at night times over the next couple of days. That's your first check on weather. Stick with us. A look at your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on our news, some air traffic controllers going in another direction today when they did not show up for work. The aviation director explains how that impacted air traffic in the capital. And what should you do if you suspect someone is working or living in the country illegally? Labor and Immigration Minister Keith Bell says there's a formal process for those complaints. And later, we'll tell you what is being done to help students struggling due to pandemic learning loss. That's all coming up when our news returns.
The Linden-Pinland International Airport experiencing some challenges this morning as some air traffic controllers did not show up to work. Our news understands the matter resulted in a nearly 2-hour delay for one international Bahamas Air flight. We can also tell you today's action stems from security search issues at the airport that have been a long-standing problem for air traffic controllers. Speaking to the issue, Aviation Director Kenneth Romer, who says the matter was resolved around 8 a.m.
Of course, a meeting has been proposed this week with air traffic controllers, the union, the Airport Authority, and the Civil Aviation Authority of the Bahamas to effectively address this morning's occurrences as well as all the other outstanding matters. I want to assure all that we are committed to the tenets of ongoing industrial harmony. We are committed to compliance with national and global security practices, and we are committed to avoiding any disruption to our domestic and our international traveling public.
Dr. Romer says a meeting was proposed for Wednesday morning to address the issue. He also says a stakeholders group has also been formed. Now, according to Romer, a previous challenge is lack of communication.
held for the first time a forum that brings all of the critical persons together to allow us to communicate, to allow us to collaborate, and to allow us to effectively address concerns to the entire aviation ecosystem. So we feel that this strategy is going to work. The challenges before was that they were operating really in silos.
There seems to be an increase in complaints when it comes to people working in the country illegally, more specifically working outside the parameters of their work permits. But Bahamians are choosing to post those complaints to social media instead of reporting them to immigration and labor officials. That's according to Labor and Immigration Minister Keith Bell, who shared as much with reporters before the weekly cabinet meeting.
First of all, you have those documented migrants, that is, persons who are here on work permits, and then those who are on work permits but working outside the scope of their work permits. Then you have the undocumented migrants. What I have asked for all of the persons on social media and all of the persons on these family islands and all the persons here in New Providence is to ensure that the information gets to the right individuals and the department, that we can act on it.
The minister also shared that the issue of work permits has come up in recent meetings with the Director of Immigration. He says both the person breaching their work permit as well as the employer will be punished, but that's only if the relevant authorities find out.
We can put all the information out there on social media, but unless it gets to the individuals who can act on it, and obviously we all will appreciate the element of surprise is most important. But if you are out there and as you see something, and first of all, there's no verification or authenticity of the information, and then you put it out on social media and you spurn the information and it gets out there, it becomes one of emotions and nothing happens.
Ahead of this morning's industrial agreement signing between the Bahamas Agricultural Industrial Corporation and the Bahamas General Workers Union, Chief Negotiator and Trade Union Congress President Obie Ferguson says moving forward, all other labor-related negotiations will be handled amicably.
We signed an agreement with the government, Commonwealth of Bahamas Trade Union Congress, that we will negotiate all of the agreements without incidents. In other words, you wouldn't see us running all over the streets doing all sorts of what I call nonsense. Where you find intelligent people, responsible government, you sit down and you work it out.
Ferguson commending Prime Minister Philip Davis for taking industrial matters seriously and what he calls improving the industrial relations systems. He adds that more industrial agreements will be signed soon.
I want to take this opportunity to thank the Prime Minister, quite frankly, for signing that agreement, because he did sign the agreement, and the agreement was that all of the agreements that's outstanding, we will negotiate it and we will move it along. We have Bahama Waste. We should be signing that in a couple of days. BTVI, we should be signing that in very short order. We will be signing very shortly the agreement with the doctors.
It's now time for tonight's Financial Market Minute, brought to you by RF, your local investment bank. This has been your Financial Market Minute. To explore the best performing mutual funds in the Bahamas, visit our website at www.rfgroup.com.
Plus, coming up in sports for tonight, taking a look at our youth flag football team. They're back home after a successful jaunt to Florida. We'll give you details on that. We'll also tell you how things are going as the Pro Golf Tour continues in Exuma. That's all ahead in sports.
And it's a family affair as Miss Daisy makes her return to the stage. With a few relatives, we have all of the details when Our News continues.
is Our News. Welcome back. The local flag football community celebrating a successful trip to Florida. Meanwhile, pro golf taking place in Exuma, and the latest from NBA star DeAndre Ayton. Here's Marcellus Hall with a check on sports.
All right, thanks, Natalia. Welcome to Our Sports, everybody. I'm Marcellus Hall. Well, we just had a youth football team return home, and if you're wondering what they were playing, well, they were playing flag football and doing pretty well. The World Championships taking place in this past weekend in Tampa, and the team, all three of them, doing pretty well. Let's take a quick look at their performance.
Well, the Bahamas with a number of teams competing at the Tampa World USA Flag Championships. The tournament going extremely well for the Bahamian squad as they acquitted themselves in a very nice manner. Taking a look at some of the results here, the 12U and under 17 teams made it to the quarterfinals. They were eliminated there. 13U, they made it to the semis, lost on that particular game. Overall, though, again, good outing, good showing for the Bahamas Youth Flag Football League as they now return home as of yesterday after competing all week. So, again, very proud moment for those youngsters, hoping now they'll be able to build on those experiences as they continue their endeavors in flag football. Meanwhile, golf action continuing in Exuma as the PGA Tour events continuing on those various islands. So far, so good, as a number of golfers from all around the world, including the Bahamas, competing at this year's event. As to be expected, there are a number of top golfers taking part, and today is the final day of competition. We'll give you updates, tell you exactly how that one turned out. Taking a look at some NBA news, we do have, of course, our NBA players still going through their paces as the NBA season continues. Taking a look at some of the scores in from yesterday, DeAndre Ayton and his Phoenix Suns, they played against the Memphis Grizzlies and did not show up really. Boy, I tell you what, Grizzlies trounced them 136-106. And they now go to 10 wins in a row. Phoenix, meanwhile, continues their spiral in the Western Conference. They dropped to 12th so far in that division. As for DeAndre Ayton, he played 30 minutes, had 18 points, 5 rebounds, and 1 assist. That came in the losing cause.
And that is your check on sports for you here on this Tuesday. I'm Marcellus Hall. Back to you, Italia.
Still ahead on Our News tonight. It's been a while, but Miss Daisy is back on stage. We'll tell you when and how you can see Miss Daisy and her family. And will temperatures be climbing up this week? Greg is back with your extended forecast when Our News returns. Welcome back to Our News. Nice mild conditions today, but can we expect more of that this week? Well, Greg is back now with your extended weather forecast. Greg?
Yeah, warmer temperatures expected. High pressure remains in charge. It will stay in charge for the next several days. At the surface, it's going to be moving out towards the east. That will allow our winds to turn more east to southeast. That should allow us to warm up. But a big ridge of high pressure in the mid and upper levels will still be parked across us. That's going to keep all the weather systems to the north of us. So look for some nice days ahead as that ridge controls our weather. Forecast map showing things basically quiet across us. But by Thursday, we see a frontal boundary moving into the eastern Gulf of Mexico. That frontal boundary will clip the northern Bahamas, but not bring us much in terms of any weather, and that will continue to spell some very nice conditions for us. East to southeast winds at 10 to 15 knots. Caution flag in place for you guys out there. If you're doing any boating, seas be running 2 to 4 feet, but up to 6 feet in some swells, and they will be mainly along Atlantic exposed shorelines. Your low tide will be at 9:36 tonight. Here's a look now at your national forecast. In your extended forecast, nothing really to talk about. Quiet, sunny weather, warming temperatures near the 80-degree mark. And as I mentioned, a frontal boundary clip us by the end of the week. Could see a couple of isolated showers by Monday. That's a look at our weather. Back to you, Italia.
All right, thanks so much, Greg. Well, one of the country's most popular acts is back. The local entertainer known as Dynamite Daisy returns to the stage for the first time since the COVID-19 pandemic. Described as a family affair, the show will be put on by Dynamite Productions and will feature Miss Daisy along with members of her family. Lynn Therese Davis Nixon, the lady behind the costume and makeup, sharing her excitement to be back under the bright lights.
It's Dynamite Daisy again, and we're going to be at the Bahamas West Campus, Bahamas Harvest West Campus. It's the 27th and 28th of January. Tickets are available at the 17 shop, Courtesy, Food Store, and Golden Gates. We are ready, and we've been wanting to do this for a while. As we all know, COVID has caused us to have to slow down, but we are more than ready. We're rocket ready.
Dixon says Ms. Daisy not only seeks to entertain, but to bring a message of inspiration.
I believe that if you only do things and only you benefit, that's very selfish. But if you are able to touch and inspire other people, then God can get the praise and the glory. And that's really what we're about. We're about inspiring young people who want to get into acting. We're about bringing a message always of reconciliation. And that's what people are going to always see from Daisy's production. So I can't tell you how excited we are.
All right, sounds great. And if you want to see that story again, remember you can head on over to ournews.bs right now, where you'll find that and all of today's top stories. And with that, we thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Natalia Hall. We'll see you tomorrow night. Have a great evening.